what you perceive with the sensory world around you, maybe with conclusions about how the sensory world works or something like that. That's one system of knowledge. That's prevailing. That's what academics is about. That's what the schools are about. Seeing things based on this world is the real place. And this is we are more or less these bodies. I mean, in Ireland, I think they teach religion in schools, right? Yeah, in the States they don't. It's really bizarre. You don't get religion until you're in university. So it's very, the training is very material. The conclusion kids reach is not that there's a possibility of religion, but that there's really no possibility of religion. Anyway, what we have is a different system of knowledge. And that system of knowledge has to do with receiving, rather than trying to figure things out, which is, unlimited. There's no end to it. Like I was saying, they go into the atom and they go deeper and deeper and deeper. They go into biology and they go deeper and deeper and deeper. And all along the way they say, now we know, this is the truth. And then 10 years later it's, whoops, well, this is the truth. It's deeper. Well, whoops. And they're really heavy about it usually. Like, if you don't accept this, you're just a backward, primitive thinking person. That's, a lot of times that comes like that. Because you believe in something that's not, perceivable by the senses. So our system of knowledge comes down from a higher source. And that higher source ultimately is Krishna. But we receive that knowledge as it descends based on really the degree to which we open our hearts, to that. Through the agency of Krishna's representative, who is Guru, we begin to feel and experience that we're really the soul. At first, one of our gurus, Sripad Maharaj, tells us that sense of knowledge and experiencing, deep knowledge, spiritual experience, at first is like a feeling. You feel it, but you know it. The example is given, like if you eat a meal and you're full, but you can't really prove it. You just know you're full. So, in a similar way, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, whether you do it like privately, like we have mantra meditation that we do quietly on our own. We do chanting together. And the effect of the mantra is to, enter through the ear to the heart. And in the heart is the soul. And the sound of the mantra is something like an alarm clock that wakes up the soul. The soul is like sleeping inside. And we're in the dream world. And the real self is asleep. But if you chant Hare Krishna, the sound begins to stir the soul, awaken the soul. And it's something like, in the morning when you're half asleep, half waking up, you're in the dream, but you're not in the dream. You're kind of remembering there's another world that you have to wake up to, but you don't quite know, which way to go. So that's kind of the beginning feeling. We feel the soul. We realize that something is there, but it's not clear yet because the dream is still, going on, and we think we're part of it. That's just an example. But it really is something like that. We've taken on different kinds of bodies and different kinds of minds and everything. You ever wonder why some person is born like super beautiful, another person is born with all kinds of physical problems and this and that? When you ask, sometimes I'll be talking with a Christian minister, a priest or something, and that subject comes up, they really don't have an answer. Because they think there's one birth and there's one death. That's it. But our understanding is that everyone has lived lifetimes, and as a result of those actions in previous lifetimes, they get different bodies. They get different kinds of bodies that have different kind of reactions that are coming. Sometimes they're really good reactions, and people get rich, and they're very beautiful, and people surround them. But then they get old, and they lose it, and they're bummed out. You know, well, you've seen it. I've seen it in the actresses that were all really beautiful when I was young. Now you look at them, and they're just, you know, they're old like me. They're not beautiful. And I've read there really is serious, like, psychological difficulties that they go through, because their reality is they think they're the body, but the body totally deteriorates, and they can't deal with it. You know, what they need, and what we all need, is a spiritual understanding of the self as the soul. So this is what we want to give, is that feeling, that experience that I am soul. And then you begin to get the feeling of soul. Then you find by the instruction of the guru that there's been a whole line of teachers going back literally thousands of years, and there's a vast, you know, library of books describing what this is about, what the goal is, and how we can get there. It's called Sambandha, means who I am, where am I, what do I begin to do? Abhideya is what you do to realize the soul more and more. And prayojana is, you know, what you do when you reach that high place. And it's so wonderful and so beautiful, because it clearly gives an understanding that we are soul, and in perfection we will have the capacity as individuals to experience, you know, eternal unending love, eternal unending happiness, you know, eternal experience of, you know, realizing who you are. The whole thing is described to us in the beginning. We're given hints of what it is. My first guru said it's like a travel brochure. You look at the beach in the travel brochure and you think, whoa, I'd like to go there. That looks really good. So we have little books that describe what it's like to be with Krishna. And you read it and think, whoa, that sounds really good. And so just like when you look at the travel brochure, it's going to cost like, you know, 5,000 euros. So you got to work for it. You know, so you look at the pictures of Krishna and these things, there's also a cost. And the cost is the surrender of the false identity that is connected with the temporary world and who we think we are as bodies. Like, I'm American, you're Irish, you're Indian, you're English, you're this, you're that. You know, you are black, you're white, you're yellow, you're green. You know, you're fat, you're thin, you're on and on and on. Everybody identifies in different ways. These are all false identifications. The real identification, the real self, is that soul within. And the soul within is not just like a blank kind of dead energy. You know, just like, oh, I'm the soul. And that I just be as the soul. That's what some people think. But no, as a soul you have, you know, everything you could imagine in this world, every kind of, you know, amazing experience you've had in this world, that's only a reflection of what reality is. So like some people like surfing, some people like skiing, some people like, you know, different things, playing football, you know, European football or American football, or basketball, or this, you know, people get different experiences of, you know, a feeling wow, this is fantastic. Like snowboarding, skateboarding. You ever skateboard, Brian?
No, my little brother did.
I thought you'd be the type that would skateboard.
It was after my time.
Oh, after your time. Okay.
I used to do that, and I'm guilty.
Okay, you're guilty, right? What a rush, man.
It was more of a kind of a practical mode of transport for me, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you know, when I was young, the skateboard was just coming out, and there was metal wheels, and you had to go clank along on them. And I was really trying to get into it because we thought, boy, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it. It was terrible. Metal wheels running in. Anyway, I'm getting off the point. The point being is that anything that we've had in this world is just an indication of what spiritual reality is. You know, to find experiences in this world, that's like everybody's objective. Oh, I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to go up skiing in the mountains. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to go, you know, everybody's thinking like that. We're going to get a break and have some fun. And, you know, it's all the direction, the nature of the self is to find that. But the spiritual intelligence, when it's like awakened, begins to question, like, what am I doing? I'm going from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another. Is that what I'm going to do my whole life? Is that it? Is that all there is? And not only that, but everything is coming to an end, and I'm getting sick, and I'm getting, you know, I'm falling and smashing my head, and, you know, there's so many problems around me. One of my friends died, and, you know, on and on and on. There's difficulty. So we have to think, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. That's like the first step. Oh, there's something wrong. Then, if there's something wrong with this world, is there any kind of solution? And beyond that idea of a solution, is there any kind of reality that, you know, I kind of feel like I'm seeking out? You know, I want to be happy, and not just temporarily, all the time. You know, I'm seeking out ecstasy. I'm seeking out, you know, the feeling of being free. You know, so many things like that. What is that? That's coming from the soul. The soul has a nature. The soul has desires. Everything is there in the soul. So we have to learn from our teachers how we can satisfy the soul and begin that. And as we begin to do that, to satisfy the soul, we begin to like feel it. Like, whoa, this is real. There's really something to this. And so the whole thing builds on one experience after another, after another, after another. Like the example is given, walking through a dark tunnel. You know, you're not sure what's in front of you. You take one step, and sure enough, it's solid ground. And there's somebody way ahead of you saying, come on, it's okay. Everything's fine. He's got a light, but you're still a long way away. And you have to like take one step after another to see, make sure we're not going to fall into anything. But each step, your confidence increases. We were just talking this morning about confidence in the protection of the Lord. That if you have a sincere desire in the heart, and if you've developed through your experience faith, you know, faith doesn't mean ordinary kind of faith that we know, like that's connected with you know, the local churches. Like, I believe. I believe. There must be something there. I believe. And maybe there's some sense of experience. But Shraddha, real faith, it's faith in Sanskrit, is I know. I feel it. It's a real thing. Shraddha is, in our theology, is like a living energy, a living being that will infuse us with the experience of reality. And based on that experience of reality, we grow and we develop. And we go forward in our march like through the cave. And one step after another, after another, after another. And that's what we're all involved in. And along the way, gradually we realize that like light at the end of the tunnel is pretty far away. To be honest, it's like that. You realize that we've gotten ourselves into a bit of a mess, and we have to, transform ourselves, change, more or less in new terminology, deconstruct our false self and awaken our real self. And the false self is attached to so many things in this world and so many conceptions and ideas, and it's a task that appears very, very difficult, almost impossible. So become confronted with that, then what do? We learn how to deeply pray and deeply call out, like, I need this help. It's called lo yam. Means like, desperate, intense desire to, to come closer to the real spiritual life. To cross over the mountain, or to blast away the mountain, which just appears like impassable. But you've got ahead of you, there's a guru who's got like dynamite or something. And he's blasting the way for you. All you have to do is follow him, and you'll get through. I'm not maybe using too many metaphors, but anyway, it's it's like that. We have real spiritual life. Doesn't mean like strawberry fields forever. You guys heard that?
Oh,
I'm sure you have. Yeah. And that came out when I was like 16 or something, and I was like, whoa, the Beatles are hippies, cool. And anyway, and George Harrison, of course, he was like a light. And anyway, this whole notion of some kind of, easily accessed paradise where everybody loves each other, like, where there's no religion and everybody just is brothers and sisters and we all share. And, it's kind of like what Karl Marx wrote about. It's like, sounds really good, sounds ideal, sounds wonderful. But unfortunately, it doesn't talk about what's really necessary to accomplish something like that. And what's necessary is that the people have to be selfless. They have to, not want to take for themselves. They take what's necessary, give what they can. That's the whole thing about it. And strangely enough, that's what we do in Bhakti. It really has to do with the soul and feeling like we are parts of Krishna and our function is to serve the whole. That's it. We're just servants. So we take what we need and we give what we can. It's like Prabhupada, my guru, Diksha Guru, used to say, this is because at this time the communists ruled Bengal, where the holy places are. And they had ruled for many years. And he used to call us, we are Bhagwat communists. Bhagwat means the scriptures. And, communism means we share everything, we have one objective, and it's not, the state. That's just a pie in the sky notion that everybody's going to give their lives to a state when they still have, all kinds of personal motivation and necessities based on their families and so many things. It just never worked really. So, because the real element that was necessary was missing, and that is, deep spiritual realization. Freedom from selfishness. That's how we all live together. That's how we all, feel that ideal of really being with like brothers and sisters who want the same thing, who are not interested in exploiting you, but are interested in, helping you. That we want the real thing, the ideal, which is, to grow in our selflessness, in our love for the Supreme. And in that, we find, sure enough, there's other people who feel like that, who think like that. And we can be friends with them. We can feel, affection for them. And, a feeling of togetherness that doesn't have to do with material give and take stuff. It has to do with shared desire to give back to the source. And we really are beginning to feel that and experience that. And Rupa Goswami, one of our great teachers from like 500 years ago, listed to us, there's 6 different ways of exchange amongst the devotees that develop this kind of love, which enable us to feel reality and grow in reality in the company of those who are like us and who have affection for us and who want the real thing for us. That's like so amazing. So we exchange, we give each other gifts. We talk like, I'm having difficulties. I need help. And we talk to people, other devotees, and they share that back, and then they say to us, I also, need help. What can I do? And, we share in that way. And then not only that, but when we have this really special food that we take, it's offered first, and Krishna kind of infuses it with his energy. And with that, we can give like spiritual potency to our friends. So to give that prasadam and to take that prasadam as a gift from our friend and ultimately from Krishna, that's like one of the wonderful means of experience that we have as devotees. So, we have a long way to go, but we have a lot of friends that are with us that, think the same way. That's what Srila Sridhar Maharaj, our, great guru who left the world in 1987, who refined the understanding of Krishna consciousness to, really amazing, deep levels. Every time you read, particularly his books, there's more and more understanding. It's like they're alive. What he saw, what he gave is like the key to beginning to understand about our position in relation to reality and how we can progress, happily in reality. His vision was like his disciple, my sannyas guru, Srila Govinda Maharaj. His vision was that temporary things in the world that we're caught up in, that are not connected with Krishna consciousness and are like part of the dream of the illusory world. We're thinking, I need this, I need that, I need that. And everybody's like that. And Srila Govinda Maharaj, I was saying I'm a sannyasi, I have these difficulties. And he said, do not worry, it will all fall away very quickly. And, so the idea is you've got the dream and you've got the reality. What do you want to see? We want to see the reality in the hearts of our God brothers and God sisters. We want to try to see that real thing and join in a consciousness of helping each other to continually awaken that in our spiritual progress. And whatever's happening otherwise, it's just, who cares? You know, it doesn't matter in the ultimate flow of development in Krishna consciousness. That's Srila Maharaj's vision, which is very radical. And, you know, generally we have parameters within which we follow Krishna consciousness. We are told to chant a certain number of times on our beads, the names of Krishna. We're told to serve in certain ways, to do arti in certain ways, to follow certain regulative principles, you know, avoiding meat, avoiding fish, eggs, no alcohol, stuff like that. And, you know, we keep those parameters. But if someone has difficulty and gets involved in that, it doesn't matter. Just, you know, just come back. It's not a big deal. You know, so what? You're still a little caught in the dream. It doesn't matter. Come back and try more. Or, you know, one example is given that we're in a big swamp and we have to get out. And we're slogging away, and we've got a friend who's thrown us a rope, and we know that there's a shore there that we can get to, but we're really like slogging along how to get out. And sometimes, you know, one of our friends just like slips and falls in the mud. So what do? We you know, help them out, and they push on the, you know, on the mud to get themselves out. You know, so it's said that when you fall to the ground, you use the ground itself to free yourself, and that's kind of like a what's the word? An analogy, a metaphor,
Paradox.
huh?
Paradox?
Well, not exactly a paradox. It's indicative of our understanding of how we practice Krishna consciousness. Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Maharaj, was very revolutionary. He taught us, he said, we are tantrics. And tantric, right-handed tantrics mean we follow certain practices that have to do with, you know, things of this world, objects that we utilize to develop in spiritual life. It's like mantra, mana trayate, deliver the mind. Then tantra trayate, means deliver through the use of objects that have appeared in this world. You know, so we have like beautiful deities that at first appear to us like, you know, like ordinary metal or marble or this or that. But we know from our gurus they're not. They've descended. But they've descended into a form that's perceivable by us. You know, that's part of the tantric system. And we worship them in a certain way, giving them objects, you know, beautiful objects from this world with, you know, heartfelt expression in devotion. We have beads, you know, that come from the sacred Tulsi that we use and chant on. They're, you know, they're spiritual objects that are tangible, that we utilize in our current state of consciousness, not spiritual consciousness, but attachment to the world. So Krishna sends down stuff that we can use to get out. Like, what do? They used to, they bake a cake and then put a saw inside of the cake and give it to the guy in the prison. Something like that. I guess I didn't hit very well. Anyway, you know, something like that. I mean, Krishna's helping us get out of the prison of the material world, and he's sending stuff down to help us. And the biggest thing that he's sending is a personality, like a pure personality, or sometimes a personality who is, going up and is reaching towards that plane, or has come to that plane from a lower plane. Anyway, there's someone who's given power by Krishna to connect with us, and they're perceivable, regardless of what our material condition is. You can see them, you can feel them. It said the Uttama Adhikari, which is like the highest soul, who sees Krishna everywhere and sees, even in this world, Krishna is doing everything. So there's no need for anything because everything's good, everything's beautiful. But the soul who is becoming the guru comes down to the plane of Madhyama, it said. And in the plane of Madhyama, you make distinction. You see, these people are suffering. This is not good. There's something wrong here. We have to correct this. We have to help these people. These people are diseased, and I've got the cure. That's, they're like the perfect doctor. They've come to a diseased planet, and they've got the medicine. But the place is so crazy that the people don't even know they're diseased. So he's trying to give out this free medicine, and he can hardly find people to take it. This is the guru. Anyway, then we connect with guru through diksha, which is part of the tantra. Also, it's called Pancharatra Tantra. It's the means through which we develop in devotional life. Diksha means a deeper connection with Guru. Harinam is a connection with Sri Guru, a beginning connection. So anyway, this is the means through which we can elevate ourselves is right all around us, like we have the altar here. Krishna has given all these things that are perceivable to us, even though we don't have spiritual vision. But gradually, through utilizing these things, tantra, trayate, we start to become free. And we start to sense, the reality of spiritual existence. And we sense in different degrees, and it grows and it grows and it grows, maybe through many lifetimes. But it said eventually, it comes to the point where it's like a scale. You've got your material stuff and your spiritual stuff here. And in the beginning, it's like, whoa, the material stuff is way up there and the spiritual stuff is down here. And it's just working. Maybe you get to a balance, and then suddenly the spiritual stuff is stronger. And the material stuff goes down. So it works like that. It's natural. Krishna consciousness is a natural thing. It's not like, you don't have to like, oh, I'm not going to do this. It's not renunciation. It's like feeling spiritual life and in a natural way, giving up material things. It's not like artificial renunciation. You naturally grow in spiritual experience, and you want to like leave things behind. Srila Maharaj says it's a process of elimination and what is the other word? Acquisition?
Acceptance.
Acceptance. Elimination and acceptance. Eliminating things that are no longer necessary for us in our life and accepting other things that are increasingly necessary in our spiritual life. And it just goes on and on and on until we come to a stage where we're free. No more attachment to the temporary world. And from that stage, we begin to develop, real love and affection for Krishna. Anyway, that's kind of, you follow that pretty much? Shelley?
Yeah.
Yeah? You follow that, Peter?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anybody have any questions? Or, enlightenment? So yeah, the bottom line is, we go out, like we're going out this afternoon. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go out, but we're going out this afternoon and chanting. And what happens when we chant we release the transcendental sound of Krishna's name, which has like electric potency. We release that into the atmosphere, and it benefits the trees. It benefits the living entities on the ground. And it actually changes the atmosphere. If we chant outside enough, the atmosphere will be changed. The atmosphere will become more inclined towards spiritual things. And I have practically seen the atmosphere, I think all over the West, definitely in the United States, change from how it was in the early 70s or late 60s in terms of, spiritual seeking to what it is today. It's widespread. They may be kind of, in our vision, kind of a bit misdirected, thinking it's all kind of one and we've descended and so many ideas like that. But nonetheless, it is, inquisitiveness going in the direction of spiritual life. And that, I feel, is a result of, Srila Prabhupada and the releasing of the holy name, powerfully. We used to go, there's like 100 centers. Everybody's going out every day for like 5 hours chanting. And, who knows how it works. But I feel there's been a transformation that is a result of the presence of the holy name and the presence of Srila Prabhupada. He told us that it will change the atmosphere. And what to speak of, the people who hear the holy name, it enters their ear and goes to their heart. And begins the process of waking up. It's called Sukriti. You hear it, you don't know what it is, but it enters your heart.
Maharaj,
Yeah.
we were doing a very small kirtan.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of foreign people hanging around the park. And there's one Syrian, a young Syrian man.
Uh-huh.
And he's Arabic and Muslim.
Yeah.
But he didn't know what we were doing. We were just playing Mridanga, and other people had different types of drums and guitars and all kinds of stuff. But we was chanting mantra, And then we met him a little later, and he said, well, what do you think about that? He said, I don't know, but I could feel it.
Ah.
Yeah.
How cool.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, myself, I went to theology school, so, you study things from Christian mystics and Sufis and stuff like that, and a lot of it rings true. And what does that do? It reinforces your faith. These people all over the world, different times, different places, they're experiencing the notion of love and devotion. It's really there. It may be kind of reflected in different ways or something, but it's really genuinely there. And it's so kind of revealing to the understanding that the self is soul, and the position of the soul is to serve. And that's who everybody is. That's everybody's religion. Doesn't matter whether you call it Catholic, Protestant, Hindu, Jewish, Muslim. That's everybody's religion. It's everybody's nature is to serve. So that's what we're following, Sanatana Dharma. The nature of the soul is to serve. And you see it everywhere. I mean, even in ordinary society, everybody's serving. I always talk about the Bob Dylan song, but nobody knows it.
Which one? You gotta serve someone?
Yeah, you know it. Okay. And not only that, it was, the Dead sang it, and,
Yeah.
But anyway, it's no doubt he got it from George Harrison, because that's what Srila Prabhupada used to preach. Everybody's serving. So, it's a really it's nicely put together. You could check it out. You got to serve someone, whether you're driving a tank or you own a bank. you got to serve someone. It's like everybody serves. That's the nature of who we are. Even the highest person has to serve someone at some time, because we're naturally servants. And it comes out in the material world in a distorted way. But we say, by the presence of the distortion and the stuff that's going on in this world, it must mean there's something else. Otherwise, where does it come from? To say that it's come out of nothing doesn't resonate. It's more reasonable that this has come about as, some kind of reflection, a hologram, or, that's what even the physicists are saying today. It might be a hologram. And they're saying, is it 14, what do they call it? My brain. Dimensions. 14 or 13, I forget. But anyway, it's very close to our understanding of levels of consciousness. There are different planetary systems, but also really they're levels of consciousness. Conscious beings, experiencing life in different degrees of combinations of, what's called the modes of nature. Goodness, passion, ignorance, sattva, rajas, tamas. And there's like billions of combinations in different degrees. And so there's different levels of consciousness, different levels of residence, of people with similar consciousness. Like we were talking this morning about how we're, why do we see chair? What is this chair here? The physicists say it's just waves. Why am I seeing a chair? Why are you seeing? This is the same chair. And some people will say, well, no, it's a different chair because I see differently. And it may be slightly different, that may be true. But, the fact is, we're all on a particular kind of consciousness where we perceive things in the same way, a very similar way. That indicates that we have, and those people are right. Everybody sees it a little bit different way. But we have very similar consciousness. So the world is manifest. This is according to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, that matter is dead. The only way it can take form is by the presence of consciousness. We know this by, the world around us. It's like that. There has to be life. For the seed to grow into a tree, there has to be life. For a dog to have puppies, there has to be a life process there. For, this chair to be built, takes conscious process. It's everywhere. There's consciousness behind everything. So it's reasonable to conclude that everything has come from consciousness, as opposed to consciousness somehow or other has developed by, accidental chemical combinations. It's absolutely ridiculous if you think about it. But they're thinking, yes, this is the way of rational thinking. But it's really not very rational when you see it in terms of a real alternative vision. But there is total denial. Yeah. They're in total denial. They're denying any possibility of anything beyond the stuff they can see with a microscope or with their, machines. And so we have a different opportunity. And that opportunity is to really enter into deep consciousness. Srila Sridhar Maharaj describes, raise our consciousness through the different levels of this world and finally break out of this world. There's a river around the universe called the Viraja. Cross the Viraja. Go through Vaikuntha, the spiritual region of master and servant, and go to the place where Krishna is and play with Krishna. That's our prospect. That's our hope. And we say, just as an aside, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is told that there are books that describe the beautiful high pastimes of Radha and Krishna and the gopis and their loving affairs in the forest. And these books are manuals for service. So you read them when you come to the stage where you need them for service. You don't read them for just getting a rush or finding the bliss, like a lot of people say. You read them because you need them for your service. And in order to need them for your service, you have to have seen, all the 7 levels of the heavenly regions, seen the Viraja River, seen Vaikuntha, entered into Goloka, and need that for service. So, go figure. That's just an aside when we're talking about the notion of the possibility of our ascending to the higher regions. And all along the way, there's instructions for us to help us. It's given. But if you're in 3rd grade or 6th grade or something, if you try to read a postgraduate physics book, it's just you're not gonna have access to it. You may think, wow, look at the pictures, it's so cool. But, you don't know what it is. So similar way, there are instructions along the way that are designed for particular stages of development, and those will be given to us as we need them by our guides. We're so lucky we have guides, and they tell us, okay, you need this now, read it. Like, read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Read the books of Srila Maharaj. Read the Bhagavatam. Read Chaitanya Bhagavat. He's made so many things accessible to us that some people are thinking, oh, but there's so much more. We have to look at so much more. But, it's just very simple. If you have a teacher and your teacher gives you instructions to read certain books, you read those books. That's, you have enough of a load to just follow your teacher's instructions and read the books. Or to speak of just not reading those books and going out and looking at other books. That's just a rough example. But, it's like that. The Guru gives us a book, and, not only are we reading it just for experiencing the words, but we're actually receiving like a living transmission from these great souls that has been opened up by our Guru. And otherwise, if we read it, we think, oh, I'm figuring it out. I'm understanding how the real Gaudiya system works, or, something like that. I've talked with people that are like that. They think they're figuring it out. But, the whole thing of our coming to Krishna consciousness is we realize, we can't figure it out. Look at the universe. They can't find the end of it. How do they think they're going to figure it out? How does someone think he's going to figure it out by going outside of what his guru says? It's just like lack of understanding and more, more being overwhelmed by the ego. It's just, I have a friend who, got like that, unfortunately. And, we have to realize and remember and keep in touch with that transcendental energy that comes from Sri Guru, that's reflected in our, senior God brothers. In, you sit down and read the book. You read Chaitanya Charitamrita for an hour and a half or something, and you're in a different world. It's, it brings you to a different place. You feel, wow, this is real. What Kaviraj Goswami is giving is like living. And even though it's descriptions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the nature of his, how he's Krishna in so many different ways, how Nityananda is Balaram in so many different ways, how Advaita Acharya is Mahavishnu in so many different ways. But he's weaving a pattern that's intended to enter our hearts and from within transform our minds and intelligence. It's not like you take it in and you figure it out in your mind and intelligence, but you absorb it through the ear, goes to your heart, and as your heart understands, the intelligence and mind begin to change. It like works in that way, according to what is revealed by the source of our connection with the higher reality, and that is Sri Guru. Okay, I've been speaking a lot. Any questions? Any questions, Maharaj? Anybody? Questions? Yes? No?